Hi, Stuart here. Little diversion. I'm going to talk about my favorite package manager, Chocolatey, and how I use it to keep my tool chains up to date across all my different machines, and how I can use it to create a machine really quickly, and how Chocolatey helps me be more productive every day. So, where do you get Chocolatey? From there, and if you get Chocolatey, you should get the excellent Choco package list backup, which we will demonstrate a little later on. And between those two things, Chocolatey, the actual package management tool, and the Chocolatey package list backup tool, that's a package itself, which is kind of nice. You've got a great tool base to work from. The problem I'm trying to solve is I go to somewhere and I spin up, typically if I'm working on a problem with someone, I'll spin up a real quick Docker container so that, whatever I do, whatever tool chain I add doesn't impact their machine. And I will install Chocolatey, and then I will go and put everything back. The other thing is that on, all of the machines in which I work, I want to keep my tool chain up to date. And I can do that by doing a Choco upgrade all, and it'll keep everything up to the latest and greatest versions. And it's rare that I don't want to do that. Typically, things don't make it into the Chocolatey packages repo until they're stable. And the things that are previews typically require you to use a preview flag, which I'm not using here. And so typically you just get the latest stable version of whatever. And again, I can quickly add my tool chain to any machine or virtual machine or Docker container I'm working in. Parenthetically, using a Docker container as a development environment has completely different rules than using the Docker container to host applications. Don't conflate the two use cases. I would never advocate using Chocolatey to put a tool chain on a Docker image as a app deploy. That would be a terrible idea. Now, as a sidecar in Kubernetes, otherwise known as an ephemeral container, where you want a tool chain so you can debug running containers in your pod, it's a fantastic idea, but a completely different video. And it's how I try out tools. I mean, my first acid test of whether or not I want to even try a tool is if it's in Chocolatey, at least I want to try it. If it's not in Chocolatey, I think 3 times about it. If it's not in Chocolatey, I go look in Winget, and if it's not in Winget, unless it's really important, I don't do it. The thing about Chocolatey is it's designed to pull software on and off your machine cleanly. And I can only think of one use case where somebody made a contribution to the packages community and it didn't uninstall properly. And in fact, it jacked up things as it uninstalled. The community let itself be known, and the people fixed it, and so I trust Chocolatey to be able to, if I put something on with Chocolatey, I firmly believe it'll come back off again, and I'm always unpleasantly surprised when that's not true. And then I use Windows Terminal as my primary vehicle for hosting shells and so on, and if you're a little confused about the difference between a terminal and a shell, and etc., Scott Hanselman has a great video on that. You should go watch that. One of the ways people say, well, how do you, other than manually keeping a list up to date, how do you make sure that if you've got a new machine, you can put back your tool chain? And I say, well, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. I use the Chocolatey package list backup. You'll see that in the demos. I end up with a file called packages config. Because you actually end up with 3 files plus usually 3 backups if you've run it more than once. And that packages config is configured to copy to my cloud store. So on my new machine, I open up an administrative shell. I make sure that Chocolatey is installed. If not, I follow the instructions. I'm not going to demo it today. The instructions and the video that goes with it on the site are far better than I could do. I pull my packages config down from the cloud, and I use the packages config file to put everything back. And that is super easy. It's to the point where it's almost muscle memory for me. I use PowerShell pretty heavily. I have a custom PowerShell prompt, as you will see, using Oh My Posh, which is in my favorite list of things. And I can get all the Chocolatey toolchain goodness by making sure that I import the chocolatey helpers module when I start a PowerShell session. And I do that by putting a line on my profile. You'll see that in the dev too. You'll see a demonstration of why I love Choco, because I can use things like setx to set a new environment variable, and then I can use refresh env to immediately load it. And I know where all my stuff is. My stuff is in program data chocolatey bin. Or there are links to the stuff in chocolatey bin. So one way or the other, I can go to chocolatey bin and follow links to where things actually are in case I ever need to know. Here's a list of the things I can't live without. 7-zip, Agent Ransack, Beyond, Compare, BleachBit, curl, Git. I'm a developer, right? So Fira code and Git and VS Code and so on are kind of non-negotiables. I love Notepad++ as a replacement for Notepad. Notepad++ is just the aces. I love it. SQL Server Management Studio, I do a lot of that. Again, you prune this list to suit yourself, right? And, I still need FTP things, so WinSCP is very useful for that. And so, these are the tools that I find myself using over and over and over again. In the plus column, depending on, again, every once in a while I'll come across something I can't chocolatey or in the alternative WinGet on. And those things make me very grumpy because it either means that they didn't want to participate in the chocolatey community, they didn't know about the chocolatey community, nobody from Microsoft ever reached out to them and whispered the words WinGet in their ear. If they could build the thing for WinGet, it'll certainly work in chocolatey. Here's a bunch of demos of just me doing chocolatey things from my highly customized terminal window in PowerShell. I'm running as the administrative user in this case. There's so many packages in the chocolatey community. I can't possibly know them all. And every once in a while, someone will drop me a note and go, dude, have you seen this? It solves this problem. It's the stuff. And quite a few of those have made it into my list that you saw earlier. What do you like? Like, what are your favorite packages? What do you use them for? The other thing is I back up my Choco frequently. I just have a thing that runs Choco package list backup every night at 1 a.m. And before installing anything, like I said, if it's not in Choco and it's not in WinGet, you should probably make sure you use the WB admin tool to snapshot your operating system, because if not, you may live to regret it. And again, clean installs are your friend. It's like about time that Windows and Linux and every other operating system finally gets to the place where we can put software on and off the machine and not have to worry about it wrecking the world. If you like this content, please subscribe. This is the first video I've ever asked for that on, but I'm asking just because it does help support the channel, and that's my contact info. Thank you for your kind attention.